All right, happy Friday, Dr. Wright.
Did we just do this yesterday?
It seems like we did. The weeks just press on so fast. Today, though, we are devoting it to one topic, and it is a significant announcement that is being put down today, and that is the fact that we are going to phase in grades 6 through 12 in a full-time traditional setting.
Yes.
Here we go.
Yes.
So let's just start with the whole phase-in piece. And you got the information in front of you, and I'll let you certainly delve into the specifics. First up in this will be 6 through 8. So take it from there.
Well, and first I want to preface it though. This is not something that, we've made a decision. We've been looking, we've been studying, we've been looking at day-to-day trends across the district. And, I know many times it doesn't appear that we're listening or paying attention or that the message is always the same. But I want to give that reassurance part that we are always looking. And it's one that we have to look across a district, 22 campuses, what is in the best interest, what are we seeing, what are we experiencing? And, and to even to start this conversation, Watertown Elementary School went on remote, not the district, Watertown Elementary, because we saw, an uptick. And
right.
And we deal with that. We've been monitoring a couple of schools, but that's, I guess, has put us, I don't want to say in a good place, but we are getting to where we can manage smaller unless we have a widespread outbreak like we experienced before the holidays. But we're getting better at our practices, at our following our protocols, and that really helped give us guidance as far as making a decision. And it all culminated yesterday as far as we continue to look and made the decision that the first and foremost, because you entered that in there before I could even say it, but grades 6 through 8, middle school, will transition into full-time traditional settings on Tuesday, February the 16th. Now, why Tuesday? February the 15th is President's Day holiday.
All schools are closed.
All schools are closed. So we will transition middle schools only starting on the 16th. Now, I don't want this to be confused. Pre-K through 5th grade continues as is. Yes. And they've been on a traditional full-time schedule since the end of October, and they've done well.
Yeah, there were some interruptions with some remote here and there, but they've had the most experience with the traditional so far.
And they've done well, and they've been able to transition out, and it's worked. And that's what I really want to stress, that we've really looked at this short-term, long-term to see what's in the best interest. Now, 9 through 12, high school, they will transition back to full-time traditional settings February the 22nd. We're going to phase in middle school first because part of it we want to look at the logistics as far as class size and making sure that we have not only the staffing with all students together, but also to make sure that when we look at that student ratio number, because we've been on a hybrid, that we accommodate everyone in a classroom as far as looking at the numbers, and we can have time. We have time to do so. So the thing that I want to really stress, though, is that protocols stay the same. Masks are going to be very important. We continue that requirement. Hygiene, the hand washing, hand sanitizer, all the pieces that we have in place already, including sanitizing our buildings, remain. What we will not, say and underscore, the social distancing.
Be very difficult.
Very difficult, but this is what we know. And this is what we're going to be doing. Seating charts for every classroom. And the thing that we've talked about this before, the difference between 6th through 12th grade, we have movement of students from class to class. That's how their courses are set up. But what we will do to maintain as far as knowing at any time, there will be seating charts in every class. When you come into your first class, this is where you sit. This is where you will always sit. Second class, this is where you sit. This is where you will. Those seating charts will help us should we have illness, should we have a COVID outbreak. There becomes your close contact in that classroom setting in that class set, and we can track it that way. Lunch rooms, that's been one that we've already navigated, but we'll have zones set up. This is where you sit during your lunch period. And that will help us track, should we need to, because, we're seeing an improvement, should we need to. So social distancing, we can't maintain.
And we can make a good effort to do that, but we're not telling, what I've gathered, and certainly when you're speaking to principals earlier, it's not one of those things where you say, like, we fully expect social distancing. That's going to be it's going to be more difficult to accomplish. However, it is something that we look at and say, we can do this. For those families who may say, why can't we just continue how we've been doing things because it seemed to work so far in the hybrid setting, how would you answer that question for those families that have those concerns?
When considering how we had to plan and implement in the midst of a pandemic, I would have to agree. We have done well, and we've gotten better. We've gotten better at it. But, and I'm really underscoring that, we've gotten out of the routine of school. Now, there's nothing, I don't want to put any scientific measure on it. There's something about that routine of school, of daily instruction, that we've not been able to maintain or keep. The hybrid has worked well for us. But there's been a loss of having that daily routine of reinforcement of the instruction every day. We saw, particularly with our youngest students, getting back into that routine. You could see not only the pickup, but the energy, and you need that in school. And right now, particularly with our older students, with teenagers, we know that not only is routine important, but we need that reinforcement of instruction, guidance, and being able to, within a period of time, show what they know, to use some very elementary terms. But that's been something that's missing. And even our teachers have talked about that. I need my students every day.
Yeah.
And circumstances simply didn't allow it. But we've learned so much. We know that our protocols are in place, and we will not soften any measure as far as the mask requirement, the hygiene that is more than an expectation, but also what we do to maintain our buildings. A question that was posed among staff yesterday, well, with students in the building every day, can we keep up the pace? Absolutely we can. I mean, that doesn't change. Transportation, that's the other thing that we looked at yesterday. We'll always have routes down to some degree, but it doesn't change the protocols as far as safety and hygiene on our buses. Food, as far as food services, there's another piece. We've not missed a beat with that. However, we're going to be serving more kids every single day. And so with that, there's not going to be an issue with food, but we're going to need more assistance as far as workers in the cafeterias. And so if anyone's wanting to join us, we need you.
For the stretch run to the end of the school year.
Yeah. And we need you. Yeah. And so, again, there was a lot of things, a full day of conversation, discussion, a lot of, if this occurs, what do we do? So there's going to be some hiccups because, again, full-time attendance, we've not seen it since last March.
It's been a year almost, and it's hard to believe. And sometimes we have to pause and think about how life really was before all of this began. So that's why, hence the phase-in approach, to start with 6 through 8 and go with 9 through 12. Now, let's talk about the 3 Mondays that will be coming up in March.
You keep preempting
April,
me.
May.
I was going to bring
I know.
That's good.
So I listen too, and but I know that's something that will be coming up as well as we segue into that. Delve into that a little bit about kind of a Power Monday, so to speak, and how would you provide the language on that?
Well, and it's something that we learned, particularly with a hybrid. There was much that we've learned, particularly in support of our teachers, and also lessons learned as we moved elementary back to a full-time traditional. We've used Mondays as not only a teacher planning day, but as far as to work through that planning for a week at a time or more. It also allowed for collaboration as far as with like grades or like subjects as far as that planning. There was a lot to be said about those Mondays prior to the school week. And not only did our teachers value that time, it was well used. And something that we know in education, time is a very valuable commodity, and particularly for our educators. And they have very little time for not only for that collaboration, which is critical in our profession, but also to map out and plan and look at students not as the class, but individually. Elementary teachers lost that when they moved back to a full-time, and they thrived when that opportunity was there when they were on the hybrid. Our middle and high school teachers have maintained that, and like I said, been well utilized. So one of the things that we want to add back in it, and we're looking at Monday, March the 1st, Monday, April 5th, Monday, May 3rd. Right now, once a month. And monthly Mondays, whatever we want to call it.
Right.
Those will be asynchronous days for our students, but there will be planning and support days for our teachers, including the elementary schools.
Right. So that is district, that is a K through 12.
That's a K through 12 component that will be added to the calendar. It will be one that you can mark it on your calendar. You will have notice, so parents will know on those 3 Mondays till the end of the year, those 3 Mondays will be support days for our teachers. And again, they'll be working through their PLCs. They will do the planning. There's a lot that can take place on that day, which, you know, again, we've seen it, we've witnessed it. I might suggest too that this is something that we might look at our scheduling going into the next school year. And again, time is a very valuable commodity. And with this, we can see how that works. Again, we're just talking about, you know, 1 Monday a month till the end of the year, possibly looking at 2 Mondays a month going into next year's planning. Not only a matter of appreciation for teachers, we've got to figure out how we can garner more time for their planning, because again, the old days, as far as looking at the classroom, we have narrowed it down to looking at individual student needs. And that takes time, that takes a lot of planning and mapping out, and that we want to continue that practice because it's not only been very advantageous for our students, and we've certainly seen the outcomes, but the benefit to our teachers to give them that gift of time, I think will be recognized as far as we need to do that. So that's the planning, that's the thinking on it. Again, February the 16th, let's bring those middle school kids back. We're ready. And then February the 22nd, high school kids will phase in as well. And I know it's going to be hard for some of them as far as because they, as high school, the teenagers particularly, when they see me at the grocery store or whatever, they said, you know, we really like that. Well, yeah, no, you do, but we got to get back into the routine of school.
Is there anything else you want to add before as we close this out when it comes to the phase-in process, or just anything in general? Is there anything else you want to close? The
only thing that I might want to add to, because again, sometimes, you know, things get misinterpreted. Right now, we have an interest survey. It's not a voting survey. It's an interest survey on virtual schools, which it was an option we offered this year. It's not that we had to. It was not a requirement, but it was just something that we jumped in and provided. It was hard. We had no budget to support it. We also did not have, as far as additional teachers, we had to use existing teachers that really caused, I'll just say, a hardship as far as in the in-person schools. But an interest survey is out as far as looking at next school year. It's not a deadline. It's not one of those we need to know, because when we moved into second semester, Bart, there was a dramatic drop in our elementary numbers continuing this semester in virtual because they want their children back in school. Understandable. So with that, we just need to know, is it viable even going into next school year for grades 6 through 12? Those early years are too important and too critical, particularly right now that we're looking at with new accountability measures starting next year, including summer school that's going to be rolled out. Again, if anyone's been paying attention to what's coming out of the state, that's not something that we've initiated. That's coming out of the state, looking at proficiency levels at the end of 3rd grade.
Right, and if you're saying, well, I'm at summer school, there is some summer programs that would possibly be made available to all districts. Certainly more information about that.
Yes, we're not even, as far as,
right.
This is fresh right now. Don't even sit there. But the thing is that people need to know what all the backstory is as far as any decision that's made. But right now, it's an interest survey
for VLP.
For VLP going into the next school year. So I know that there's been a lot of chatter. They're making us make a decision right now. No, we need to know if there's interest. There's a big difference. So yeah, I just need to get that out there because, again, a lot of chatter.
I understand, for sure. All right, well, here we go.
No snow on Monday.
Yeah, and let's briefly talk about that as we close things out, because this is, for those, if you pay attention to these things, you know Dr. Wright and I follow the weather very closely. There was talk about possibly some Arctic air coming in first of the week.
Polar vortex.
Polar vortex, the Polar Express, the vortex, everything. Latest forecast indications has pushed that back to more of a mid-late week. So just something to think about. We're looking at some extremely cold mornings late next week in the current forecast.
Yes.
Well, if there's any update to that or anything, we'll let you know. And just keep your eyes on local forecasts. We want those little ones bundled up, or everyone bundled up for that matter. But it looks like some very strong cold air is going to make its way into the mid-state by mid-late next week. But again, those forecasts can change, and they did already.
You'll do a breaking news.
You may catch me at a bus stop doing a live weather report. Who knows? All right, that's going to close us out, folks. Thank you so much for listening and watching this. Big announcement today, very significant as a phase-in for 6 through 12, beginning here very, very shortly, around the middle of the month, the day after President's Day. That'll start 6 through 8. The week after will be 9 through 12. And
let me add, folks, we will have hiccups. I mean, that just happens, again, just logistically. But don't think for a minute that we are not, we'll be ready to make changes and adjustments best we can, because, again, it's been a year. It's been a year, so be patient with us. We're doing the best that we can and doing it as far as what we see is in the best interest of not only our students, but also for our staff.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Wright, for the time, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again very, very soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.